Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the CyberGizmo, we're going to be looking at openSUSE, but this time we're going to be looking at Leap 15.2, the release candidate. Stay tuned right after this. So, by the way, this channel has reached a milestone as of the 5th of June, now a year old. And so I wanted to go back to do a review of a distribution that I actually started with. This is not the first one I worked with, but I mean, Red Hat was. However, there were some times that I just didn't feel like Red Hat was what I wanted to do, so I played around with a number of distros, and at that time, I played around with Gentoo, and then I played around with openSUSE. It's been, well, I actually started with SUSE Linux Enterprise, and I used that for quite a while. I think that was back in 96 or 97, somewhere around in there. And yeah, I don't remember what version it was, but I probably could look it up on a wiki or something, but I just don't remember. But I used it for about a year, and then finally went back over to Red Hat. But I really liked openSUSE, and so for the birthday of the channel, I thought I'd go back and take a look at this at the release candidate, which I think it's coming out in 23 days as a gold master. So anyway, this is sort of an early look at it, but it's not a beta, so I didn't break my rules, at least not yet. So what is openSUSE Leap? So first of all, let's talk about SUSE itself. SUSE has been an open source distribution company for over 28 years. They're not. This says they're one of the three originals, but they're not. They're not one of the three originals. And I'm going to do a video on the actual original versions of Linux, but they were definitely an early player, no doubt about that. The initial release of openSUSE was in October 2005. SUSE has a commercial. Well, I guess it is a commercial product. I mean, you have to license it by a subscription, similar to Red Hat, and that is their enterprise product. openSUSE was really designed to kind of help people get more acquainted with SUSE in hopes that they would purchase a subscription. And it used to lag behind SUSE Linux Enterprise by, I think, around 2 months or so before a new release would come out. That's no longer the case. openSUSE actually precedes SUSE Linux Enterprise, so it's now coming out a lot sooner than lagging behind. So it's leading, not trailing. There are two main offerings of openSUSE. First is Leap. That is a fixed point release distribution based on, like I said, SUSE Linux Enterprise. And then there is Tumbleweed. Tumbleweed is a rolling release. It offers the latest upstream stable packages. So yeah, it's not you won't get into the. I guess you could if you wanted to get into the experimental ones, but it's really more designed for the latest and greatest kernels, the latest and greatest packages. And of course, Leap is a free Linux-based operating system. They have major releases that would be like 5.1, 5.2, and those come out about each year, give or take a little bit. You know, that's kind of the way it is in all of the distros. They shoot for a year, but, you know, it depends on how complex of a integration they have to do and how much work they're performing in order to get a new release out. But once it's out, they maintain those releases for up to 36 months. And there are minor releases that are done about once every 6 months, again, give or take. And the minor releases are supported every 18 months. There used to be a thing called Evergreen, and I don't think that's still around anymore, but Evergreen was used to support versions beyond the normal life cycle. So say you had a 15.1 Evergreen, then that would be supported way beyond the 36 months. But I think that got too much for them. have not. I don't know that. I don't know what's happened to it, but I do know it hasn't had any activity since 13.x. So yeah, it's been a while. So it's based on kernel 5.3.18, and that, of course, will provide support for the AMD Navi GPUs, as well as there's a lot of other, but these are just some highlights I pulled out. So RISC-V code improvements are inside of this release, and yes, openSUSE does support RISC-V. It's not listed on this chart, and I don't know why. This came from their site. So they have this RISC-V, but I think that's just in the kernel. I don't think there's actual package support for RISC-V in openSUSE yet. At least I didn't see an official release. Now, there might be one that's maintained by the community, but I did not see an official release for RISC-V. But anyway, the officially supported hardware is x86-64, which, of course, is a 64-bit. ARM, and ARM is they support both the Arch64 and the ARM version 7. So that would be your 64-bit and 32-bit versions of ARM. But again, as I had mentioned earlier, you also have to make sure that whatever distro you're using is actually supported at the SBC level, because that's where your drivers will be the most impacted by the devices that the ARM chip is actually interfacing with. C compiler is GNU C9, and security uses exactly the same model as the Enterprise SUSE. There's also dehydrated and Let's Encrypt for SSL key generation. Containers. Now this is kind of interesting. They have they use Singularity, which is kind of interesting because that's scientific and high performance computing based containers. And then they also support Builda, CIRO, Podman, and Scopio. I don't know. I'm going to find out when I'm doing my install today if they do support Docker. So we'll check that and see if Docker is in the repositories. I would imagine it would be, but I don't know. We'll find out. Open and Groupware, LibreOffice, of course. Email client is Thunderbird. Browsers, Chromium, and Firefox. And desktop environment. So those the three primes are XFCE, GNOME, and KDE, and of course Qt5, which is part of KDE. XFCE is 4.14, GNOME is 3.34, KDE is 5.18 long-term support, and of course Qt5 goes along with that, and that is 5.12 long-term support. There's a number of openSUSE technologies like Snapper, which is a tool for managing Btrfs and LVM volumes, particularly for the snapshots. And I'll talk a little bit later about how that might be used. YAST, it used to be years ago that everything was yet another, and so YAST came up in that era, and it's yet another setup tool. That manages all aspects of the system, from hardware to software to packages and everything in between. So it's kind of a GUI that you can use to manage the system overall instead in one place. It's been around a long time, and they have enhanced it many, many times over the years. And of course, applications, VLC, and GNU Health. Now, this isn't about health on the system. This is an actual hospital management system that's part of openSUSE. OnionShare, Tor-based secure file sharing, and of course, SyncThing. Tilex is a tiling terminal emulator, although in my initial peek at this, I did not see that installed by default. But there are many, many, many more applications in here that are supported. Minimum requirements, they recommend 1 gig of memory, 10 gig of disk space for a minimal 16 gig for a graphical user interface, and at least a 1024 by 768 display. They recommend 4 gig of memory, 16 gigabyte of disk, and of course these recommendations would be if you're installing a GUI. And then higher resolutions than 1024 by 768, of course. As you'll see from the real estate as it installs, it's a little cramped, definitely a little cramped. There's one other particular role that you can install. I mean, the roles would be things like XFCE, GNOME, KDE, but there's also one called the transactional server. The transactional server is used to apply atomical updates, and that means that it applies them as a single operation. It allows you to, once you've installed it, you can easily revert from a release that for whatever reason, maybe you find incompatibilities with the software that you're running, and you just want to revert back to the older version because it's more stable. And if you're running ButterFS or LVM, any updates that occurs, now you have to use the transactional update command, but any updates you use during that process, there's a snapshot that's taken before it begins. So to revert, you just simply reboot the system into the snapshot, done, and you're back up on the old release. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. I guess probably the best thing to do here is fire it up, take a look. So let me go pop over here to a full screen. Yeah, this is 5.3, which is right on the cusp of support for the NUC 10. I ran into some issues with it. I don't know if they were because of it's a release candidate or because it was kernel issues, but it wasn't that it couldn't find the devices, it just was slow and it was hanging in places, and so it didn't look normal to me. So I'm going to put this under a VM where I can at least control the hardware under it. So I'm going to create a VM. Let's call it, so I know it's a release candidate. And I'll go over here. I'm going to mount the ISO. And there it is. Don't think I need anything else there. That's fine. They recommend 16. I'm going to put in 20. And I'm going to add 2 cores to it. And I am going to add 4096 just to see. I'm going to start there and see how much it really takes. Because to be honest, I didn't pay any attention. I just was trying to make sure that it was going to work. I've been making some changes to my network, and so I've been breaking stuff everywhere. Happens every time if you go in and add features to a DNS. Things just start breaking. Okay, so there I am, and I'm going to start that. I'll bring up my console. Also, I want to make sure I have scaling mode on. And then we'll get this a little bigger for you to see what's going on. Maybe not too much bigger. Some choices here. Let me register my mouse. So some choices here is boot from the hard disk. Well, obviously that's going to fail. So we'll do an installation. I can do an upgrade, and there's some other options here. Although, you know what? I have not really checked to see what those are. Oh, rescue system, boot Linux, check. Okay. So I should be able to escape back. And we'll go ahead and do an install. It's been so long since I've been in openSUSE. Yeah, it's been a long time for me. So we're just booting up. And that's kind of nostalgic. That's a throwback to the way Linux used to install on the desktop, was the chasing bars. Fedora did that. Red Hat did that. Even Ubuntu did that for a while, and also openSUSE did that. So it's kind of fun to see it still doing it. Good, nice job, nice touch, openSUSE. Nice touch. Yeah, that makes me smile to see things like that. Connections to the past. Okay, so it's going to check out my network devices, make sure that I do have a valid working connection. That's good. Looks like I didn't screw up my DNS that bad. So at least I'm still able to get out on the internet. Yeah, I'm adding the full DNS sec, and it's been fun. It's not hard. It's just you got to get all the steps done, to make it work. Especially when you have VPNs running all over the place. All right, so it looks like it's just gonna kind of on automatic here until I get up to this. Okay, so since my network is up, it's asking me if I want to download the YAST repositories, and I do. So some of the ones you have here are non-open source. update non-open source main, which is the main SUSE repository, the main update, and then the main SUSE. We want all of those. I don't think I'm interested in the debug or untested. No, thanks. No guinea pig today. And we'll go ahead and get those. It'll get those and set them up. I'm not sure what's all involved with this. I haven't, like I said, it's been a long time since I've looked at openSUSE, and I think I have forgotten more than I knew about it. It's always been one of those releases that you can count on. You know, it's just stable. It just works. Unless you're in a beta, and then you may not. But yeah, this is that transactional server I was talking about. So if you want that kind of a feature set, you can check this off down here, and that will allow you then to provide updates with the option to back it out. But I'm not quite sure what all the, I think that is a server. Yeah, it's a server role. So you would only want that, of course, if you were running this as a server. But I can run KDE, I can run, now this, it does not have XFCE on it, which is curious. So that might be something that's missing in the release candidate, because normally like Tumbleweed has XFCE in it, and it could be that maybe Tumbleweed just supports that. Not sure, but I did say it was there. Their note said it was there, but maybe there's some issue. Anyway, I'm going to put GNOME up. And then it's going to create a GPT on the SDA device, and this is going to be a ButterFS, or BetterFS if you prefer. I just call it what it was. A lot of people call it BetterFS, and that's fine. It's all good. Okay, so asking me for like I said before, I don't trust ButterFS, but I don't trust it in RAID configurations. For single drive, it's fine, but in RAID, I wouldn't trust it as far as you could throw it. All right, so yeah, it has a few problems still to this day in doing recovery from RAID. If you want to experience the joys of having a RAID recover fail, put ButterFS in a RAID. Let's see. And they may fix that sometime, but as far as last time I checked, it wasn't fixed. So I'm going to turn off automatic login. I'm going to make sure that, yeah, I'm a system administrator. And then this is kind of nice because there's one other release that does this. Manjaro, maybe? Where you can go back and, I don't know, I can't remember. It's all the blur. So, yeah, where you can go back and correct individual pieces. And then, of course, you'll have to step forward from that point. But, oh well, it was a nice try. It'd be nice if they had the menu options out here. But anyway. All right, so we're ready to go. And it is 3:36. And I'm going to wait for it to actually get going here. It will put the number of packages here. Now, it'll try to calculate how long it will take, but it doesn't know yet. So I will come back when this is finished, and we can see how long it takes to install openSUSE. Almost done. We're at about 8 minutes. It took about 7 minutes to install the packages, and this is the writing out of the boot, doing some configuration and so forth. The final configuration, so it's almost done. So it's going to reboot automatically here. But before I'm going to stop it. I'll do it myself. Oh, I guess I can't look at that. Okay, we'll put it back up and we'll go ahead and reboot. One of the interesting you can tell it's a release candidate because on the page where it said about the release notes, it was referring back to 15.1, which is fine. They'll get to that. Those are minor things. They're not going to stop a release. Just for those of us that are OCD, I'm not really OCD, but I will catch stuff like that. All right, so let's bring it up. I want to see how efficient their version of GNOME is. So first thing I want to do here is I guess I better go into settings and get my display set up. There we go. And devices. And I guess we'll go, because I know that'll fit. And then we'll just kind of stretch this over and down a bit. And it did do it. Yeah, it gives me at least a little bit more real estate to work with. I could go full screen, but oh well, it's fine. So let's see what we got here. So we have a CD burner. We have webcam software, we have chess, a clock, contacts, deconf editor, document scanner, documents evolution, files. Oh, did I say that out loud? Firefox, GIMP, LibreOffice. Let's see. I think this is 6.44. I was watching it install, and that's what it installed, but let's just check it. Ooh, pretty. Yeah, don't need that. Let's see. It's saying 6442. Yeah, that's pretty current, like right now. They actually, I did learn something a couple of days ago that 636 is actually the recommended one if you're in business because it's just been tested more. So, and they will support that for a while. Let's see what else we got. I got Mutt. Kind of haven't seen a system with Mutt on it for a long time. That's their email. Package updater, password, photos, Pigeon, Hilaria. It's got to be another one. Power statistics. Now, I haven't seen this one in a long time. Tiger VNC. Wow. Well, that takes me back. Tiger VNC used to be the fastest screen-to-screen. So if you wanted to have remote screen display on your system, Tiger VNC used to be the fastest. I don't think that's really the right way to do it today. But the other thing I want to do is I want to change the appearance. So let me go back here and do that. Oh, I guess I better go to tweaks. Keep thinking I'm in KDE. It's all a blur. It's all a blur. All right, let's go down here to tweaks. All right. So this has been around a while. Graybeard Gecko Dark, and of course their mascot is a gecko. In case you were wondering. Okay, so that's what I want there. Let's go kick the tires on a few things. I don't know if I finished looking through all this. YAST, of course, that is the management, and then these are the modules of what YAST actually can manage, and you can extend this. So you have you have a GUI to manage everything on your system. I mean everything, from NFS to setting up. Even you can go in and change parameters for the kernel if you want to. So yeah, I mean it's pretty powerful, and was definitely one of the first ones I remember that was put on a distribution, and we always thought that was just the coolest thing. Don't know how you feel about that, but hey, it's nice to be able to, if you're new to Linux, you don't understand it very well, it's nice to have a little hand holding. And one of the other things I didn't show you was I didn't spend much time. I don't know if it didn't pop up or whether it's not on here, but maybe by the time it gets done, normally there's a screen that comes up that helps you get started. I didn't see that. So maybe it's not quite ready yet. That's okay. All right, maybe it's just not ready. So we'll bring up Turnwell here. Make that a little bit bigger. Hopefully, maybe one more. Make it really big, and we should be looking for 5.3.18. Is that right? 5.3.18. That's exactly what we got. And we probably have top. Yep. 710 megabytes of memory in use, and we're running GNOME. Wow. Wow, good. Wow. I don't know how they pulled that off. Pretty amazing. That's over a quarter less memory than the nearest competitor. So I don't know how they pulled that off, but wow, amazing. Okay, I'm sure HTOP isn't there. And one of the things that they have is this thing is cannot find CNF. So if you type in cannot find HTOP, you don't know where it is, you don't know what it's called, it'll tell you how to install it. So I want that. I want, of course, but spell it right. And I know this is Python 3 glances, and I want that. I think I fat fingered the keyboard. Nope. I thought I did, but it didn't. Okay, so let's look at NeoFetch first. And of course it has a nice logo, text logo. 2,238 RPMs. So how much disk is this actually taking? 12 gig is available, 5.3. Wow. So, I mean, I don't always go by the number of packages because you just don't know how they break things up. But not only is the memory footprint less, but so is their disk footprint less than their nearest competitor. I mean, it's normally with GNOME, you're talking about 6 gig, at least 6.4 usually. And they have a healthy number of applications, and usually it's pretty thin on the other distros. Now, granted, I didn't see things like, did I see boxes? I don't think so. No. So, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the thing that you can't go by, right? Is, I mean, this is really set up as a workstation, and yes, so where you would be tied into a server of some kind. Yeah, Firefox, I didn't look at that. I'll come back to this in a second. I'm off on tangents now. All right. I think this is probably 6.8. Yeah, extended support, 6.8. Okay. Yeah, everything about Leap is long term, so you're going to find things like that. Oh, I know what I want to look at. There you go. Snap's not found. A distro that has not folded into it. I heard a comment the other day about Yum. Now Leap used to use, well, SUSE used to use Yum as well as it's Zyper or Zipper. I think some people call it Zipper, but it's Zyper. Some people were talking about Yum being replaced by DNF, and that was a Red Hat tool. No, Yum is not a Red Hat tool. It came from Yellow Dog, and Red Hat picked it up. Back in the day when distros found something that was cool and they liked, they would all implement it. That isn't true today. Now we're off in 15 different directions doing our own thing. But back then, they would share ideas. And now it's all, war. You're wearing a red armband. I'm wearing a blue armband. And you know that story. Well, anyway, get off my old fart perch. Okay, so what else can I tell you about this? I mean, I'm running this on a VM. This is running on a 6700 Nokia. It is an Intel 67. It's a Skylake processor. It's a 6700. I think it's 4.2 gigahertz. No, excuse me. It's nowhere near that. It's Well, it might be. It might be. I guess maybe I should look at. Let's see if NeoFetch can see it through the fog of. No, it can't. You can't see it through the fog. Oh yeah, it's 3.4 gigahertz CPU. So yeah, it's not even a very fast machine. Yeah, that is a straight 6700. It's one I had that I just said, well, I guess I'll put it in use and stick Proxmox on it. It's one of those things where you use what you got, right? Okay, so memory footprint. So what do I think about this? Just cursory. I mean, it uses Network Manager, obviously, up here for your network settings. What do I think about this? So memory footprint, quarter less than the nearest competitor. Disk footprint, it's at least it's a gig smaller. Don't worry about the number of packages because that doesn't mean anything. It just means that's just how granular a distro puts things together. Who cares? What matters at the end of the day is how much disk gets taken. This is running GNOME, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that some of the others do. But it's a good release. It's always been solid. I mean this. If you go back and you look at Debian, it was Debian, Red Hat, and Mandriva and SUSE. Those were the major four back in the day that kind of started the domination of. Yeah, and SUSE does have a lot of servers installed. I don't know what their market share is. I really don't. But they were popular as a server, and they're popular as a workstation. It's a very good distro. It's a very solid distro. It always has been. I just got bored with it, quite honestly. It just works. I mean, I just wanted to go back and play around with some other things. And oh yeah, I was going to check Docker, wasn't I? To see if Docker was here. Now I remember it. Yeah. Does Zyper have the info? It sure does. That's pretty current. So I don't know what version of the core they're running. Whether this is similar to Fedora, where Docker has a hard time being able to run. I don't know. But I guess we could always install it. Why not? I'll have to run it as root to talk to it until I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna. This will take a while. There's a lot of pieces in Docker. I'm just curious. It's run C. Just saw that. Interesting. I guess they don't want. These companies like SUSE is very sensitive to software that has any connotations of non-free. Any parts of it that are non-free, they will throw it in the "this is not open source" bucket. They've always been good about that, as far as I can remember. I can't think of a time where they weren't. Let's do a help. It works. Usually you can get to the help, it's running. It can run. And then the real test would be to actually drag down an image. I'm not going to do that. But the only thing I haven't done, let's see if is Git installed. Yep. I haven't done my usual stuff, have I? It'll probably blow me away. It's loading the plugins. This doesn't usually take very long. It didn't flag any errors with System D. What the heck? Normally there's a long list of this is not in compliance and this is a risk, and maybe didn't find the tool. There's a lot of green. I see yellow is suggestions. Red is you got a problem. Not bad. 70. Now, I think SUSE, if I remember right, is AppArmor based. Which, you know, I don't have a problem with SE Linux or AppArmor. They're both good tools. I'm not seeing anything crazy. Yeah, that's fine. What new things did they do? Now I need a malware scanner? Oh, I need RK Hunter. Okay. Yeah, but that's not bad. 70 score, not bad. Pretty impressive. So what do I think? First of all, it's good to see it. I'm glad that SUSE is still around. It's just one of those distros you can go back to and use. It has long-term support. This 15.2, if you don't ever want to upgrade it again, you don't have to for 3 years. So yeah, and then if you want to put it on a server and you want to use the transactional server to do that, then you got a way you can roll back a release, and if you're trying to migrate systems. Typically, you know, servers don't migrate very often, you know, but they do have to occasionally if new hardware is coming in. That's the problem that I've got right now with this, is that this is borderline. 5.3 is borderline. It has almost everything I need for that NUC to run, but not quite. So 5.4 is where that's a sweet spot for it. That's where it likes to run. So I may come back and put Tumbleweed on the NUC, because Tumbleweed is 5.6. So I might do that. Anyway, I've rambled on a bit more than I wanted to today. I just wanted to give you a kind of a look at this, and then I always wanted to look and see what things are. Memory footprint, good. The footprint for disk, good. And the scores on the security, nice start. That saves a lot of time and a lot of work. I'm just going to check. Really? Well, what do you call it? That's why I didn't find any problems. This is critical chain. Anyway, I'll figure this out on my own. Hope you enjoyed this video today, and let me get back over here where I can talk to you. Hope you enjoyed this video today. For me, openSUSE was a good release. And I just got off on tangents, and that was my period of distro hopping. But I stayed with openSUSE for quite a while. SUSE originally, so I used SLE for probably about 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years, and then went back to Red Hat on that. And then when openSUSE came out, I went back to them for a while and played around with their stuff for a while, and really liked it. I mean, it's always been good. Like I said, would I be tempted to go back again? No, I'm kind of set in my ways now. But yeah, if you're looking for something that's easy and simple and doesn't break, that's a good release. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and hope to see you all again real soon. And bye for now.